Chapter 33. Magdalyanovsky. Someone was barking orders, and Jack woke up. He pushed himself to sit, rubbed his eyes, and looked around. The curtain walls had been pushed open, leaving him in the much larger space of the main tent cave. 4 coyote men were unfurling a large tarp just yards away. The oldest-looking one, a burly and shirtless coyote with a whitening muzzle, was loudly shouting orders. "Corin, pull your side good and tight, if you please. It's going to roll in every direction." He stomped to the middle of the tarp, reached up, and grabbed at a knotted rope dangling from the plastic canopy. When he had returned to his corner of the tarp, he gave the rope a good hard jerk. Immediately, sunlight spilled in through an opening created in the canopy, along with a sloshing flood of snow. When the snow stopped pouring in, they lifted their tarp corners and brought them together. "This load goes off to the baths," the leader said, and the group marched off, dragging the snow-filled tarp with them. Another group was marching in Jack's direction, led by the hook-nosed coyote from the night before. Jack looked over his shoulder, intending to wake the others, and realized for the first time that they were gone. "Mr. Roberts," the hook-nosed coyote said as his group came to a halt, "I hope you got a good night's sleep." His tone and sneers suggested that he couldn't care less, and he motioned for Jack to stand. Jack did so, looking at the empty blankets. It was as if last night had only been a dream. "Do you know where any of my—" he started. "Come with us," the coyote interrupted. Jack looked at the rest of the stony-faced group, wondering whether they might take him by force should he refuse. He gave one more glance over his shoulder, then followed. Magdalyanovsky's living space was not much larger than the one in which he'd slept. Like their clothing, the room was colorful and mismatched. The walls were made of wool-lined blankets, and an orange shag rug covered the floor. At the center of the room, warmth emanated from a space heater that looked as if someone had bronzed a tiny jukebox. "I want to apologize for my discourtesy," the feral woman said. She settled herself into a chair made of tangled branches, and motioned for Jack to take a seat. He dropped into a chair across the space heater from her, next to the room's only other occupant. Harding looked much better than he had last night, fully alert with no visible wounds, although his left brow still looked puffy. "It is not my intention to intimidate either of you, nor to make you feel unwelcome." Another coyote entered the room, this one wearing dark red robes. "Bring me the compass," Magdalia instructed. The red-robed woman nodded and left. Magdalia extracted a small knife from within her layered garments. "Are you familiar with Darrison Root, Jack?" she asked. Jack saw himself on a wooded trail, squatting alongside Alan and Dr. Walraven to inspect what looked like a translucent white carrot. "It's a plant," he said. "A poisonous root." Magdalia gave a small nod. "It won't kill you, not in small doses, but it will nullify your high tenor. In other words, you will be left powerless." She laid the knife in her lap, fixed Jack with a stern stare, and continued. "You are wondering where your friends have gone," she said. "I have taken them. They will not be harmed, but neither will they be released, not until I have what I need from you." "From me?" Jack asked, surprised at the sudden turn. "What do you want from me?" "2 things. First, your compliance. There is something that must be done, something only you can do. I don't expect you to fully appreciate its necessity. I do, however, expect you to cooperate." "And if I don't," Jack said, "you'll kill my friends?" "We are not killers, Jack, and we don't need to be." She withdrew a vial from her garments. It was nearly filled with a milky blue liquid. "I will not harm your friends, but unless I have your compliance, I will take away their powers." Jack swallowed, watching the vial. It was the wrong color to be Darrison, he knew, but the point was made. "You haven't told me what you want," he said. "Why threaten me before you know my answer?" "Because I know your answer," she said, setting the vial alongside the knife. "Just as I knew about the fort, just as I know what you do not know about yourself. You were going to reject both of my demands. Now you will accept them." "And they are?" "You will go to the fort," she said, "and release our ally." Surprised, his mouth began framing a question, but it was Harding who responded, speaking for the first time. "Why Jack?" he asked. "Unless I'm mistaken, you have Claythorne's kid. Why not send him?" Magdalia's eyes never left Jack's. "Peter Claythorne could navigate the fort without aid. Miles Greenacre could navigate without capture. Jack is the only one who can do both." "How?" Jack asked. In his opinion, Magdalia was putting far too much faith in him. "You must answer that for yourself," she said. "How did you navigate the maze in the animal control trials?" Her face softened into a faint smile. "That one I did get from the universe." "Then I'm going with him," Harding said. "I'm not letting him out of my sight. And don't think you can threaten me with Darrison route. There's nothing I'm afraid to lose." The curtain parted once more, and the red-robed coyote returned. Instead of a compass, however, she held a large, dead salmon. She placed it into Magdalia's outstretched paws, then bowed herself once more from the room. "Your crimes are known to me, Toby Harding," Magdalia said. The lion made no response, but his posture became a bit more stiff. "And it is time that you pay for them." As she said this, she laid the fish across her lap, gripped the small knife, and slid the blade beneath its eye. She worked smoothly, in one quick circle, until the disc-like eye came free. She dropped it into the bowl on her lap, then uncapped the vial and poured out its contents, massaging the white fluid into the eye. When she finished, she wiped her paws on her garments and inspected her work. It hardly looked like an eye anymore. Its green-gold coloring had been replaced by that milky blue, nearly transparent at the edges. Its pupil had narrowed to a small black point, and when she tapped it on the edge of her chair, it made a solid clicking sound, as if it had turned to stone. Satisfied, she picked up the knife once more and pressed it firmly into one end. "My second requirement," she said, turning her eyes upon Jack, "is the key." It took a moment for the words to register. Realization dawned too late, and Jack did a bad job of playing dumb. "A key? A key? What key?" Magdalia set the knife down again. She plucked a strand from her garments and threaded it through the new hole she had whittled into the eye. "You are right to protect it, Jack. The key must not fall into the wrong paws." She let the eye dangle like an ornament for a moment, examining it, and set it down once more. "What you don't know," she continued, "is that Dr. Walraven, yes, we are acquainted, had intended to bring the key here." "To give it to you?" Jack asked. "No," she responded. "To give it to him." She nodded toward Harding. The lion looked between them. "To me?" he asked. "The heart belonged to your cousin," Magdalia responded, "and now it falls to you. You will make amends for your deeds. You will take the key to the Harbinger." Harding's posture became more rigid still, and he gripped the armrest tightly. Magdalia looked again to Jack. "So, do we have a deal?" she asked. Jack thought of his friends, reduced to being powerless, their dreams crushed, their lives forever changed, all because of his choice here and now. Snatching up his bag, he unfastened the buckle, withdrew the bronze key, and passed it to Harding, who seemed as reluctant to take it as he was to surrender it. "And the fort?" Magdalia asked. "When do I leave?" Jack asked. The words formed as if someone else had spoken them. Magdalia did not smile. On the contrary, her eyes seemed to fill with regret. "Immediately,"